Thank you all for being here. All the cameras, you guys all set up and good to go? Can you hear? Is everyone able to hear all right? Well, thank you guys all for being here. I'm sure everyone stayed up late last night watching the baseball game, was able to enjoy it, right? Yeah. I'm sure you kids went to bed early. It was been a fun week for the Cleveland Indians. Thank you guys all for being here so much. I know Corey and Amanda appreciate all of you being here for this event. If you guys aren't currently, if you don't know the viewpoints of what the Kluber Foundation is truly trying to do, it's a very, very great organization that they've put together. And what they're doing today, I think, is just a fabulous way to help all the children and all the kids here at this hospital. And it's just awesome that they've been willing to put their time and money into this. The primary focus of their foundation is to impact the lives of families who have seriously ill and chronically ill children by providing them with daily support through life-improving resources and life-changing experiences. Through Kluber's Corner, patients and families will have access to technology that you guys see up here, and it'll be really cool to see it unveiled, and games to help educate, entertain them, and connect them to the outside world during their stays at the hospital. For me personally, just watching how this has grown and to see this is the first time that they're going to be able to do this, it's just a really cool moment to see this kind of come to fruition. So I hope we all can enjoy this. Welcome to the opening of the first Kluber's Corner. Thank you to Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital for opening your doors to us. As you can see, Kluber's Corners are mobile lockers that have dozens of video games and technology that everyone staying at the hospital can use. To start things off, come on in, little guys. I like your hats. You guys look good. Come on up to the front. To start this off, we're going to welcome Patty D. Pompey. She's the president of Rainbow's Baby and Children's Hospital. She'll say a few words, but I know that she's great. She really appreciates what Kluber's Corner is doing and loves helping out the community. Come on up, Patty.
Andre, and good morning, everyone. I was laughing with Corey and Amanda. If I look a little bleary-eyed, I am, because my husband had the game on last night, and we listened to it to the final conclusion. So what an exciting time for the Cleveland Indians, and what an exciting time for Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital. We are so honored and delighted to be welcoming Corey and Amanda Kluber and the Kluber Family Foundation. Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital has been a trusted leader in pediatric health care for more than 130 years. Rainbow consistently ranks among the top children's hospitals in the nation. With a dedicated team of more than 1,300 specialists, we are so proud to be the medical home for Ohio families, leveraging the most advanced treatments and innovations to deliver the complete range of pediatric specialty services for more than 700,000 patients every year. Compassionate care, a sense of community, and our partnerships in philanthropy allow us to set the bar in their patient experience. Again, we are so grateful to have the Kluber Family Foundation become a part of the Rainbow family, as together we announce the establishment of Kluber's Corner in our hospital. Through Kluber's Corner, patients will have access to technology and games to help entertain them and connect them to joy during their stay at Rainbow. We are privileged to be the first recipients of the Kluber Family Foundation's Kluber's Corner program. To Amanda, Corey, and the Kluber Family Foundation, it truly is an honor to be a recipient of this incredible gift. I have no doubt that it will be countless hours of joy to patients and their families for many years to come. We are so thrilled to have you here this morning. On behalf of our patients and their families, thank you again for your generosity.
Great job, and thank you very much, Patty. We appreciate that very much. Now I'd like to introduce our generous donors this morning, Corey and Amanda Kluber, if they want to come on up and say a few words. Just about everything that they've been putting together with the Kluber Foundation, Kluber Family Foundation, excuse me. Hi, Amanda, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Corey, how are you?
Doing good, thank you.
Very good. It's good to see both of you here this morning. First off, I just want to ask both of you, what just went into the thinking of putting this all together?
Amanda and I have spent a lot of time over our years here in Cleveland visiting
hospitals and interacting with kids and families. And I think that we're truly inspired by seeing what they deal with every day and how gracefully and courageously they do. And I think one of the main things that always stands out to us is the amount of time that a lot of these patients are spending in the hospital. I think with all that time, we've heard that sometimes there's a lot of downtime. You lose a sense of touch with the outside world, things like that. And so we wanted to try to find a way that we could maybe make that time that they spend here a little more enjoyable. Give them opportunities to play games for enjoyment or education, things like that. And if they have a chance to connect with people outside the hospital as well, that would be great.
Amanda, I know you've had a lot of opportunities to reach out and to meet some of these families. What does that mean to you to be able to do that?
It means the world. I mean, it really, truly brings me so much joy just to get to meet these families and stay in touch with them and help them while they're going through this, bring them out to the field. And now that we can bring this into the hospital and just if it gives them a couple minutes of just downtime and Mario Kart or watch a movie, just relax, get their mind off things, it's just, a joy.
I can't wait to see you play Mario Kart.
I'm so bad.
But it'll be a lot of fun. All right, I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions if you don't mind, and then we'll let you guys ask a couple questions of Amanda and Corey as well. What brings you guys to Rainbow's Babies and Children's Hospital today?
This is one of the first places that Amanda spent a lot of time visiting, and I did as well after she started. I think, like we said, we felt like this was a good spot to launch the first Kluber's Korner and an opportunity to provide the patients here with these resources, the games, the DVD players, things like that. I think that once we made the decision to go forward with this, I think that the generosity of all the legacy donors made it possible to outfit these lockers with all this great stuff. And I think we feel like it's a great opportunity to give patients a chance to take their mind off what they're going through.
Of all the people in the world, why did you guys choose the seriously and chronically ill patients and their families to be the focus of your outreach?
I think it started just by having kids, and we were fortunate to have 3 healthy kids at this point. And we've gone through things with them, and just for one day of them being sick, I just couldn't imagine what these families go through on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's how it kind of all started. And then once I started visiting here and some other hospitals and seeing what these families go through, it just, it kind of it ignited something in me that and we just both got super passionate about it, and it's kind of how it all started.
All right, last question, and then I'll let you guys possibly ask a question. I didn't ask you how you're doing, Corey. And look, other cameras just went up as soon as what do you guys want to say to the patients and families today with Corey and Amanda?
I think that is as much as time as you guys spend here. Amanda and I, we hope that this brings you joy and happiness while you are here. We hope that you use it as much as you possibly can, and that you have a blast, play as many video games as you can, watch as many movies as you can while you're here. That's why this stuff's here, so you guys can enjoy it.
All right, any kids, anyone out here want to ask any questions of Corey and Amanda? I'll come out to you with the microphone, possibly. Anyone? I can ask a question.
I answer enough of your questions.
Yeah, I know. That's why. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Here you go.
So this is for Corey. So what made you want to become a pitcher?
I don't know if there's any one specific thing that made me want to be a pitcher. I always enjoyed baseball. That was always my favorite sport growing up. What I spent the most time playing growing up. I did other sports, but baseball was always the main one for me. I played a position and I pitched up until college, and then I guess they kind of made a decision for me when I got to college and gave me a scholarship. They told me they wanted me to pitch, so that was kind kind of why.
Corey, how do you balance fatherhood and playing the game of baseball?
I think that there is a balance. I mean, obviously, having Amanda do an amazing job with our family makes it a lot easier because we are, as players, we are away a lot. But I think that the way I try to do it and what seems like the best way to me is to, when I'm at the field, focus on baseball, but when the game's done and stuff, I leave that behind and try not to bring it home with me. And I think that that's, to me, the best way to separate the two and not let baseball detract from the family.
All right, before we cut the ribbons, anyone else have any questions that they would like to ask the Klubers? You can make a statement.
Okay, so I'd like to have
Go for it.
Yeah, I
It's
like
last time
it.
I've talked.
So I was actually a patient 2 years ago, and the DVD players are like the best idea ever. Not all the rooms have the DVD players, and a lot of people donate DVDs into the clinics and let kids watch them. But if you don't have any way to watch them, then you can't. And I used to watch movies at like 3 a.m. when I couldn't sleep, and they were waking me up to get vitals. So best idea.
That'll be useful.
All right, I'll ask Corey this. Will we see you pitch again this year? Yes, something always interests me. Are you guys ready to cut a ribbon or two to start this off? Would
Yes.
you like
Do
to do
it.
that? Come on up, you got it.
Yes.
These are some nice scissors right here. I'm not allowed to even hold these at home myself. I don't want to touch them either. Can I have the legacy donors come up, please? To help us out in this situation. We'd love to have some of the legacy donors come up.
I didn't think they would be that sharp.
Yeah, we got a couple kids around here as well. There you go, legacy donor right here. Awesome. Thank you
Perfect.
so much for being here. Thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you. I just feel very like I shouldn't do anything until I don't have these scissors in my hand.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, Corey's
We
gonna
trust you.
help this.
Do I have the big one? Oh, this is exciting.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This is awesome. Thank you.
Kluber's Corner is officially open for business. I would like to invite those participating in the ribbon cutting to all enjoy that moment. And now you can see Corey and Amanda possibly play a video game or two, maybe with a couple of the kids. This should be, I know Amanda, wait, this is what she was all ready for, right?
So ready.
Any of the kids want to come up and possibly play? Who wants to come up and play something? Well, you've got the Mohawks figure all right. Come on, you can't wait. Show them what you got. It's a nice haircut right there.
All right, done.
I can make that happen.
I'll do it. I'll send you a paragraph.
I was gonna say, Pat and Ryan. You met Ryan.
Oh, I know.
That's
We go way
right.
back. I was here when he started.
You don't forget Ryan.
I was here when he started. Before he was a VP.
Way back in the day.
He was just a director when they brought him on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How long have you been here?
15 years.
11. Long time.
It's fun to see people, relationships like Mike Anderson. Remember Mike Anderson? He was just a doc who would come into my office to harass people on the TV shows. He'd get on my mic and harass them live. And then he became chief medical officer. And I was like, oh man.